Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet. Today we are going to be talking about polarization. Now, polarization in the non-scientific context is the division into two sharply distinct opposites. It is a phenomenon that has been occurring more regularly and with greater energy since the beginning of COVID into the greater culture war and socio-political battle that has been going on here in the US, and to a slightly lesser extent across most of the white, Western, modernized world today. It is because of a number of different factors, and again, it is something that is not getting better, it is only getting worse. Essentially, the middle is vanishing. People are becoming juxtaposed. You're either with me or you're against me. You're part of the solution or you're part of the problem. This has been going on for a while. COVID has continued to exasperate it, and now we are literally at the point where the United States of America and society at large is parsing itself into two separate camps in which there is no longer communication. It is splitting families apart, it is dividing communities apart, and, dare I say, it is making the United States of America a very unstable place to be. So what I wanted to do today was take a look at exactly how we got to this point, what's driving it, and if there's a chance that we can actually pull on the brakes and slow this, perhaps even stop this from being a continuing trend that is most assuredly going to end up destroying us. So buckle up, everybody. It's time for a pleasant little drive through the countryside. Here we go! Florida governor. School districts that defied no mask mandate to lose $200 million. Ron DeSantis is backing a bill that would strip education funding from Democratic counties that retained COVID precautions. Polarization. Look, this is exactly what I was talking about. There is a gigantic feedback loop occurring these days. It starts from politicians, it cycles through all of their marketing, all of the money they get, all of the elections and the hype and the media, and them talking to the people, and then the people loudly screaming back their slogans, and then the loop continues. And the problem with the feedback loop is that it's getting faster and faster every time around the track, and eventually this thing's gonna go rocketing off into the crowd. Now, as a quick rewind, early in the pandemic, the federal government and the CDC put out a list of suggestions. Among those was that states switch to at-home learning so that they could mitigate the spread of COVID and not get so many kids sick. Now, of course, this became highly political in the social culture wars that are going on, and then politicians responded to the culture wars, trying to out-culture war each other. Top of the list, Ron DeSantis, who not only forced schools to stay open, but told school districts that if they defied his "you have to have schools open" mandate, that he would come for them, that they would rue the day that they crossed Ron DeSantis. And apparently that day has come. And so Ron DeSantis wants to take hundreds of millions of dollars in funding away from children, because the people who run the counties and the school districts that those children just happen to live in decided that they didn't want to send their kids to super spreader factories. And so now retribution comes in our polarized world. And you would think that a story this fucked up would be everything I would need to tell my tale of polarization and how it's making society worse. But it turns out this was just the appetizer. This sent me down a path, looking for some research, and what I found was infinitely more horrific than this. Americans are fleeing to places where political views match their own. Oh no, people are potting up. This is exactly the thing that I was concerned about. I was concerned that this would be the result of the polarization that I just told you about 3 seconds ago. And lo and behold, it's happening. People are deciding that they don't want to be around other people who think differently than them, who say different things, who believe different things, rather than having conversations and then agreeing to disagree like rational human beings used to do. No, now instead, we're at the part of the show where we're either beating the crap out of each other in aisle 7 of the local Walmart because face diapers, or we're literally packing entire families into moving trucks and going someplace based on how red or how blue it looks on an electoral map, which if you think about it, is pretty fucking ridiculous and completely fucking horrifying. There's a private Facebook group with nearly 8,000 members called Conservatives Moving to Texas. 3 of them are sitting at a dinner table munching on barbecue Wheaties and brownies in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. None of them are vaccinated, and they love it here. Quote, as soon as I drove into Texas, literally as soon as I could get into the state and stop at my first truck stop for gas, it was like, this is wonderful, says Lynn Seaton, a 59-year-old portrait photographer from Orange County, California. Quote, people weren't wearing masks. Nobody cared. It's kind of like heaven on earth. Go ahead, everybody. Just let that sentence just fully wash over your brain. Just really soak all of that in. The joy, the exclamation of freedom at getting to a place where nobody cares. That's heaven on earth, I guess. America is growing more geographically polarized. Red zip codes are becoming redder. Blue zip codes are becoming bluer. People appear to be sorting. Quote, we felt very out of place and very uncomfortable at times, says Tiffany Wooten, a 43-year-old stay-at-home mom whose family recently relocated from conservative Indiana to liberal Austin. We were looking at blue cities because we wanted to be with our own people. This sentence, equally as horrifying as the last one, I asked y'all to take a moment and really think about. There are no blue cities. There are no blue people. We're not snorks. This isn't an episode of The Smurfs. This is tribalism. Now, before we continue, I would like to point out that because this is a red and blue issue, this isn't just one side of the team wars divide. People from both teams are moving, looking for more teammates to squad up with. Yeah, I'm being rather harsh on this, but I do want to throw the caveat out there that I do understand. There are parents, there are people with children, there are marginalized folk who, due to whatever reason, wherever it is they live, literally fear for their safety and need to go. I get that. I'm not slogging on any of these people. I am merely going to point out that for every person who feels threatened and leaves a place to go pod up with other teammates, you're leaving other teammates behind. You know what's worse than being a marginalized person who fears for their safety because they don't have enough other people around them who are like-minded and flee? Being one of those people who can't afford to flee. Being one of those people who don't have enough money to get a moving truck, move across country, and get another job. So yeah, I get that you're doing what you have to do for yourself and the safety of those people that you care about that are closest to you, but I have to point out that you are abandoning all of the other people at the same time. Karen Bates, a 52-year-old mortgage executive, moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area with her family last year from Puerto Rico. She says the island's government was going to force her teenage daughter, who has type 1 diabetes, to get vaccinated against the coronavirus. She now attends a Christian school. Quote, she hasn't had to wear a mask. She doesn't have to get vaccinated. She's thriving on the tennis team, making straight A's. I love the freedom of vaccine choice in Texas. Now again, parent with a child, making this kind of move solely because they think it will benefit their child the most. Of course, if you want to look at it on a macro point of view, what would actually make your child thrive the most is being in an area where people are intellectually and ideologically challenged so that they can, develop a better sense of themselves and the world, but also just taking kids and sticking them in ideological bubbles filled with other parrots who just croak off the same 6 sentences all day. Lock her up, stop the steal. Yeah, that's a really great way to help your child thrive. In the modern era, Texas has fashioned itself into a sort of breakaway red meat republic, banning books and restricting abortion, blocking mask mandates, and building its own border wall. It retains this national image in spite of the fact that its 5 largest counties went for President Biden. But more and more Trump followers are flocking to Red Texas in search of the promised land. Quote, "People are asking, tell me about the most conservative towns. Where should I be moving?" says Seaton of the people who post comments on the Conservatives Moving to Texas page. Where should you be moving? Nowhere. You're somebody who lives in a community. You have relationships with people in that community. You have a family. You've put down roots. Your children have friends with other people at school. Yes, oh my God, I know it's horrible to have to be ideologically challenged and have conversations that make you feel uncomfortable, but maybe you should be more interested in growing as a human being rather than sheltering yourself and your child and becoming precious little snowflakes who couldn't possibly contemplate words that they don't approve of being put into their ears as some form of spiritual assault. Maybe y'all should just, I don't know, have conversations with people instead of running away from them. Family therapist and conservative activist Dr. Bridget Melson, 52, is a new Texan. 6 years ago, when Melson and her family decided to leave California for the Lone Star State, they were methodical in their search. Quote, "We want our medical freedoms. We want our constitutional rights. We are definitely pro-life," says Melson, who created the Facebook group. "We looked where the red counties were. We knew Austin was going to be a lost cause, so we knew we didn't want to be there, and we really wanted to have decent weather and the least amount of bugs. So we figured we'd move to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex." Wow, see, somebody else, 52-year-old therapist who has their own practice, who can afford to close up shop, spend thousands of dollars, put all their shit into a moving truck, pays away to move it across the country, then either plunk down all the deposits for an apartment or, God forbid, actually even buy a house. That's right. This is somebody who has the means to fight the culture war wherever they are, and rather than being on the front lines of that culture war, places where it's, half red, half blue, and you're really in the trenches, nah. This conservative activist decided to go be a conservative activist surrounded by other people on the same team because, nothing says I'm really trying to push the envelope by not being on the front lines and just surrounding yourself in a place where everybody already believes the same thing you do and you don't have to bother fighting. Political scientist Larry Sabato posted an analysis that shows how America's super landslide counties have grown over time. Of the nation's total 3,143 counties, the number of super landslide counties where a presidential candidate won at least 80% of the vote has jumped from just 6% in 2004 to more than 20% in the last election. And this is a super large indicator of the exact problem that I have been talking about for a long time. And nobody seems interested because everybody wants the safety of being around other people exactly like themselves, who believe the same exact things, who say the same exact things. They want to stop communicating with other people. They want to stop the free-flowing exchange of ideas. They want to be safe and secure in their belief, and that is their first priority, even above being an actual functioning society. By moving to Austin, the Wootens joined the big sort. They made Greenfield a tad less purple and Austin a smidge bluer. Tiffany sometimes wonders if they've done the right thing. Quote, I'm not sure that it's super healthy for us to be completely putting ourselves in a box and saying, I'm going to be with the blue people because they think exactly like me. We need to be able to communicate with each other, even if we don't fully agree with each other. The Wootens miss having their ideas challenged and engaging with the other side. On the other hand, she says, we feel among our own people in Austin. So what does all of this mean for you, the average viewer at home, the fellow member of the working class? Well, to start with, it means that the culture wars are in full swing and they show no sign of abating. Also, there's a better than average chance that you, no matter who you are contributing to this. So please, everybody, I beg of you, have conversations, engage with people in a way that's productive. Yes, have your beliefs, have your systems, have your people, but don't stop being a member of the larger community or society. People need other people. We need to hear other ideas. We need to be challenged. If we aren't, we are dooming ourselves to be a bunch of parrots trapped in an echo dome, incapable of hearing anything but a few choice words that bring us some form of comfort while further destroying our overarching society. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.